So Crypto Universe, I'm back with another video. Had to re-record it. It is what it is. um, I'm here with some bullish news. This is a little. I'm stumbling through this because I'm a little frustrated that the video did not record properly, but that's fine. So first thing we're getting into here is PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel and Andrew founder Palmer Luckey. They're going to be starting a bank tailored towards crypto and tech startups. Apparently, the bank is going to be called Erebor, which I can't remember if I'm messing that name pronunciation up or not, but that's an interesting name, of course, because that name is most notable for the Lord of the Rings, and you could interpret that several different ways. To be honest with you could interpret that in a negative way, revolving around greed, or there's several different ways you could take that. I'm not gonna sit here and over obsess with what the name of the company is. Do I trust these two individuals who are trying to start a crypto based bank that's gonna help, I guess, tech startups? No, but this is still overall very bullish for the crypto space when it comes to people recognizing that this is the future. This is not a fly by night thing. We've been saying this for years now, and things like this continue to prove it, because now these big shots, they're at a point where they essentially have no choice but to try to find some way to get behind these crypto projects. And I could see this potentially becoming a big deal, because for the people that don't know, if you try to open up a bank account, uh, and it's a bank, and it's under, it's for a business that you have that is tied to crypto, or if you try to apply for a bank account and you let the bank know that you do buy or sell cryptocurrency, which many of these banks, they will ask you. Many of these banks, if you say yes, they will deny you and not let you start a bank account. So maybe that's the market that Peter Thiel and Palmer Luckey are trying to take advantage of, right? Similar to how, when it comes to the whole cannabis industry, even though it's become legal in many states over the years, many companies in these states where it's legal, when they try to establish bank accounts, one issue that many of them run into is they run into issues trying to find a bank that's willing to accept them, because as soon as they say that they're running a business that is tied to marijuana, many of these banks immediately just deny them, which puts them in a bad spot, of course, because now they have nowhere to bank. And then you had certain banks that have come along that to help them out with that. So maybe that's where this bank that the PayPal founders are going to start. Maybe that's the direction it's going in. But the next story I wanted to get into here is tied to the SEC, and it's an update regarding the Grayscale Digital Large Cap Fund. Because as we all know, I reported on this several days ago, the Grayscale, they're trying to get this cap fund turned into an ETF. This ETF would essentially cover multiple assets, like the spot price for multiple assets such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Cardano, Solana, and maybe a few others. But recently it was announced that the SEC acknowledged that they are now looking into it, but now it has been announced that they have halted their conversation around looking into officially approving this for becoming an ETF. There's different ways you could look at this. You could look at this as if this is essentially a scenario where they're being very selective with who they want to push through and what they want to push through. But you also could look at this and say, all right, well, it's tied to several different cryptocurrencies, which could make it a little more complex. I, in general, do not trust things tied to the SEC, of course, especially after seeing the whole debacle with Jay Clayton and Gary Gensler when it comes to how they handled the whole Ripple XRP case. That definitely rubbed me the wrong way when it comes to the SEC. So I'm gonna assume that it's the worst case scenario. I could be wrong. We'll see how it goes, but I don't expect, if this ETF ever gets passed at all, I don't expect it to happen this year, to be honest with you. I think maybe at the top of next year we may have a chance. I don't know. Maybe it'll happen sooner, but I don't think it will. I think we'll still have to wait a little while, but it's still inevitable, even though we may have to wait a little longer. last story I wanted to get into here is actually about Ripple. So it's been announced recently that Ripple is looking into a US banking license. This is a report from the Wall Street Journal that came out breaking this. I think that's very interesting. As we all know, Ripple, over the years, they have talked about how they have connections, partnerships established with over 300 different banks around the world. Whether it be they've had ties in the past to Bank of America, at one point they had ties to MoneyGram. They've had ties to the central bank of, I believe it was Egypt. There's a long list of big names that they have been tied to over the years. But it would be very interesting to see them actually become a full-fledged bank. It would be interesting to see if they became a full-fledged bank, would they make XRP, the token itself, a key component to people's transaction? As far as, would it be literally a crypto bank where you walk in and you're literally doing transactions through XRP, or would it just simply be a traditional bank that only runs on the XRP ledger, right? Because those two things are, that even though they're affiliated, they're not one and the same. You could use the XRP ledger without using XRP necessarily. So I'm interested to see how that would all play out. We all know that Ripple has been pushing RLUSD, which would be their stable coin. But then also there was news that broke several weeks ago that they are in the midst of essentially a bidding war with Coinbase over the opportunity to buy out Circle, which is the company that is behind USDC, which is the second biggest stable coin on the planet right now. And it's also the company that was just recently listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and their price is going up exponentially. Their valuation has gone up exponentially. So we'll see what comes from that. But let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. Do you think that Ripple will have a bank within an official bank within the next few years?